Hi everybody, good morning, and welcome to the third episode of the Neurotic Knitter podcast. I'm so glad to be here with you all today. This sunny Saturday morning, Saturday, May 26th, in fact. I'm so appreciative of all of the support I've received so far. I will say, episode 1, tons of views, like I think 700 views. Really not a ton of views, but by my standard, a good amount of views. Episode 2, like 280 views, a little less. Hopefully more people will watch episode 2. I do realize that my podcasts are really long, and I've received some feedback from people saying that I should think about shorter podcasts or 30-minute segments, and I don't know if I like that. I kind of like just like one long one, and if you want to watch it in chunks, feel free. If you want to skip my, segment on how I love Tanya Harding, which there'll be a little bit more of that today, feel free. But anyway, yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. It'll be interesting to see how over time the trends go. Everybody who knows me is laughing right now at home because I'm a geek. I'm a data geek in particular, so I like stuff like that. I will make a spreadsheet for literally everything, and that's actually like one of my strong suits. That's a reason why you should love me, I think. Anyway, I have so much to share with you guys. So the first thing I want to say is I'm going to try to give a tour of the rose garden. We have what we call our first flush, so it happened really late this year due to the weather. The only problem is I'm so technologically inept that I can't figure out a good way to show it to you. I'm going to try, so you may see that as a part of this podcast. You may not see that as a part of this podcast. We'll just see how it all works out. The rose garden is a little messy because Mike, who does a lot of the actual tending of the roses, if I'm being honest, is out of town. So it's a little messy out there. And we've had some really crazy weather. Like we've had a lot of rain and wind, and so the roses are looking a little shambly, but they're beautiful, and the fragrance is just amazing. Like when you open the door, you can just smell not an overwhelming smell, but just like a beautiful kind of roses everywhere. But anyway, we'll see if I can get that in for this one. If not, I'll try to do that in a future podcast. I wanted to also take a moment and thank everybody for all the birthday wishes. So yesterday was my birthday. It kind of came and went, it was a really uneventful kind of little fanfare occasion, which is perfect for me. That's in my personality, that's who I am. So it was good. It was a good day. Mike, like I said, Mike is traveling, so it's just me. I've just been at home, kind of chilling out, getting some stuff done around the house, doing some knitting. But I'm always overwhelmed. It's weird. We live in this Facebook world where we have hundreds and hundreds of friends, some of which are really close to your friends, some of which are former high school bullies who friend you on Facebook, and you friend them, and then they wish you a happy birthday, and you're kind of not sure really what to do with that, but thanks. But mostly it was good. It was really wonderful to kind of have people from all walks of life, it reminded me of all the different things I've done in my life. I had people from Florida, people from back home in Michigan, people from Tennessee, kind of all wishing me a happy birthday, and I really appreciate the love and warmth. So thank you so much. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about my birthday a little later in the podcast. So I mentioned this a moment ago, but I just want to set some expectations for the podcast. So one thing that's really important to me is that it's fun. And one thing that I don't particularly enjoy is the tech side of podcasting. I literally have this $7 tripod right here, and that's it. I trying to keep it really, really low tech. So don't expect that I'm gonna have like fancy transitions and like stuff along the, like text along the bottom and clean editing. Like, I really don't like that part of the process. And in fact, I get frustrated sometimes when I go to upload because it takes like literally hours. Like, if you record an hour-long podcast, it takes like 3 hours to put it into YouTube. I don't know if people know that, but it takes forever. And like YouTube will crash, so you'll wait for like an hour and then it'll be like, sorry, try again. It's crazy. So just setting expectations. Hopefully I'm enough. Maybe. Hopefully the yarn wall provides something visually pleasing. Yeah, so it's gonna be lo-fi. I'm also, like, related to that point, I keep looking down, guys, because these are my notes, and that's another thing. Like, I like notes, I like lists, so I'm gonna have my lists, and I'm gonna be looking here, I'm gonna look over here, maybe right here. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out the right video resolution. So podcast 1, I was like in portrait, and I was doing like a 720 pixel with like 30 frames per second. I think those are the right terms. And then somebody said do in landscape, which was a great suggestion. So I'm definitely doing that now. But in podcast 2, I tried a higher video quality. I think I did like 1080 pixels and 60 frames per second. And it was weird because I felt like I kind of liked the quality of the first one better, and there were some wonky moments in the second podcast where I was like showing something and it just didn't look quite right to me. The other thing is with an iPhone, like the high power camera is the camera facing out. So I wasn't able to see myself in the second podcast because I had to use like the out facing camera. With the lower resolution, you can use like the selfie view. And I like that because I can actually, like right now, I can see myself on the screen. So anyway, more than you wanted to know, but things I'm learning as I'm creating a podcast. Like, you have to think about these things. Hopefully this will be, high quality enough for people to want to watch on multiple levels. Technologically, content-wise, looks-wise, yarn-wise, whole package, all of it. But I'm very open to suggestions. Just know that my like appetite for spending a zillion hours learning tech is kind of like this big. Okay, so other things that are going on. This is like the segment of the podcast where it's just like a sundry mix of life updates, different things that are going on, questions for the audience. Hopefully, I'll get some questions from people. I actually have not received like any questions really, like of things people want me to discuss outside of like wanting to see the rose garden and wanting more recipes. Which I can like do those things. I can share more of those, which I will. But like, feel free to like ask me a question or like tell me about a segment you might want to see. This is my little Jenny the Potter mug that I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool a few years ago. See, it's got a little blue crab, Maryland blue crab. She's so talented, although her updates have gotten so insane lately. Like, I just can't, I love her, but like, I can't pay $65 for a mug, and I can't like try to fight off like thousands of ladies trying to get the mug online like twice a year. I just can't. So I'm enjoying it out of this mug. I've learned that I need to drink more during the podcast because I get kind of dry mouth at the end. So, and it's morning time. This is my first like morning podcast. This is when I'm at my best, by the way. I am like one of those weird morning people that everybody hates. Everybody's like, oh, you're a morning person. That's awful. I think it's great. Like, I get everything done in the morning. So I get to work at like 7 o'clock or 7:30 sometimes, usually 7 o'clock. And the time from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, most productive time of the day. It's where I do all of my hardest work at that point of the day. Nobody comes in, nobody's there, except for like 2 other morning people. And we're like, hey, what's up, other morning person? Yeah, and I just get a lot done. So you're catching me in the morning. You're catching me at my peak, maybe. It's all downhill from here. What can I say? I'm drinking some local Onyx coffee. So like one of the weird things about Bentonville, Arkansas, which most people don't know, unless you live in Bentonville, Arkansas, or like the metro region here, we have one of the best coffee shops in the country with some of the best baristas in the country, like baristas that have won like national competitions. It's crazy. The place that I like is called Onyx. It's a really cool place. The coffee is just exceptional. So you can order from them online if you want. You should totally do it. So that's what I'm drinking today. I'm on like cup number 3. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm not supposed to be drinking so much coffee. It's bad for my tummy. I have a sensitive tummy. Anyway, life updates and just general updates. One thing that I wanted to ask for is recommendations for easy weeknight dinners. So I'm trying to eat like more healthy, more healthy, and trying not to eat out so much. You know, it's not like, I like eating at home. I think going to restaurants is fun, but like when you have to do it every day, it's like this arduous process every day of like, where are we gonna go? What are we gonna do? We don't wanna go there because we've been there 8 times this week. Like, it's also complicated by the fact that I have braces, and so I can't eat like crunchy things or chewy things. Such a saga having braces. I know I'm complaining a lot, and it's really not that big of a deal. But so easy weeknight dinner recipes, like anything that you have. I eat chicken and fish. I don't eat a lot of red meats. And I don't eat, I do eat some seafood, but I'm kind of picky on seafood. Like I like salmon, that's like one of my ones that I really like. Open to like box dinners or frozen things that you've tried that are really good. You know, something that I can get home at 5:30 and have it on the table by 6:30. Like that's like the litmus test. If I have to spend more than an hour preparing it, it's way too much. Preparing and cooking. So please send me your ideas. I want to know. Okay, so viewer questions, I talked about that. Please send some in if you have them. They could be knitting related, they could be life related, Drew related, anything. I want to say something about my last podcast too. I know I mentioned it a moment ago, but I'm still trying to figure out like what the right balance is between sharing my personal stuff and stuff that's not knitting related and private or knitting, personal versus knitting, not personal versus private. Personal is private sometimes. Personal versus knitting. So bear with me. I feel like I'm gonna share some personal things because this is a creative outlet for Drew as a whole person, not just Drew the knitter. I know that my following will mostly be knitting people. I feel like we're in a moment where you have to be so careful about offending somebody, and I'm not saying that that's like not warranted, but I'm worried about that. You know, I'm worried about that as I share parts of myself. I think to myself, like, one, are people gonna just like shut off, you know, or they're gonna be like, oh God, I don't want to hear about that, like keep it light, which is valid. But 2, are they gonna be like, oh, I don't agree with that view, like, and I don't like Drew because of that. I feel like there's a lot of that going on right now. So yeah, I guess I'm just saying that to let you know that I'll probably talk about some personal stuff. And I'm like a big believer in the whole, it's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay if, you know, I have 100 views and you don't agree with like 30 of them. Like, we can still be friends. I want that kind of diversity in my life. I want that kind of thought diversity. I want to be around people of different backgrounds, and ethnicities and political views and, you know, different lived experiences. So yeah, if that's not you, you can tune out, you can skip over the personal parts. Yeah, So just, I wanted to acknowledge that at the beginning. But related to the second podcast, I had a lot of really super sweet comments. I talked about my mom and how, you know, I had we lost her to alcoholism, and it was a hard thing. And I had a lot of people reach out and send me messages or comments on the podcast, and it was really like very touching. And, you know, to me, it's like that kind of human connection that we all kind of crave and need in our life. And you know, nobody wants to feel alone. Nobody wants to feel like, you know, their experiences make them an outcast, or that they can't like talk about these things that happen in their lives that are like so important and make them who they are. You know, we all have those experiences. So I'm just like so appreciative of the love. So thank you. Some other things that have happened. Sorry, I have to switch my page. Here's my little script. Page 2 of 75. No, I'm just kidding. Not 75. More like 16. Not really 16. Like 3. But anyway, I've received some compliments about the podcast in general, so thank you. But I just wanted to share, like, I thought this was really funny. Like, I received these, I've culled from the compliments, like, some of the ones that I think are kind of funny, like things I would not have expected people to say. So here they are. Some compliments. I'm easy to listen to. That's good. I hope I'm not shrill and annoying. Like, I'm not going for that. So that's good. +1. Some people have said that they like the sound of my voice. That's interesting to me. I've never once received that feedback. I feel like I have a pretty normal voice. I've been self-conscious about my voice since not really self-conscious, but like when I was a little kid, and not little kid, like a adolescent, you know, when you're in the closet, at least for a lot of people, like one of the things that comes to your mind is don't do things that would make people think that you're gay, you know? And it's a common experience I think that gay people have, at least gay men, probably gay women too, or other people who are queer, transgender. It's like, don't do things that would out you, you know? And for me, I've always been a little swishy. I've always had like a little swishy gay walk, and I used to get made fun of for that all the time. And my voice, you know, it's hard because like you can't really tell if you like sound gay, but other kids like who would make fun of me told me that I sounded gay, so I was always really self-conscious of that. So I just found that to be like an interesting compliment. Like the sound of my voice. It gets better. Once a deficit, now a plus. Somebody said that they liked how my lips looked. That was a little weird, but thanks for that. Some people said that they loved my stash. Of course, how could you not love a wall full of yarn? I've worked very hard to acquire this amazing, beautiful stash. So you were right. It is beautiful. Sadly, it's not even all of the stash. Not sadly, but like maybe embarrassingly. Anyway, they like the stash, and you should. And I found lots of people who said that they were fellow bakers and not cooks, and kudos to you. Some of us need structure. Some of us like structure and rules and directions and guidance, not just like a free-for-all, do whatever you want kind of thing. That's fun sometimes, of course. I'm not like a monster, like a fun-hating, rule-only loving monster. But yeah, so I appreciate that. Keep the feedback coming. Compliments or not. I haven't really got insults. I've got things like people telling me like things that I could do better. I did get like a thumbs down, my first like thumbs down on YouTube. You know, on YouTube you can like get like thumbs up or thumbs down. I had like one on each of my podcasts, and I was like, oh. But then I was like, it's one of those like trolls, like mean people who like to hate everybody or something. So keep it moving, keep it moving. I'm not going anywhere, so you're just gonna have to deal with me. Love me or hate me. That's it. Okay, life updates. So let me take some coffee first. Learning, gotta stay hydrated during these podcasts. I'm telling you, it's like a marathon. Okay, work has been crazy. So like, I have like 3 weeks of, I've had like 3 weeks of travel starting with this past week. So last week I went to, and my partner also is traveling at the same time. So I don't know about other couples. For us, that creates just total chaos. Like, our house is a mess. We're always doing laundry. We're never seeing each other. Like, you know, we're rushing off to the airport. Like, we have a day together and then we're gone for a week. So it's kind of crazy. But this past week I got to travel to Washington, D.C. I love Washington, D.C. This time it was a super fast trip though. I literally went, Tuesday I traveled all day. So like when you live in Northwest Arkansas, you have to travel, it takes a whole day, unless there's a direct, which there was not a direct on Tuesday. That's the other thing, like we have directs like on random days or like once a day. So I spent all day traveling. I got to Washington, D.C. I was gonna go and do like a tour and like walk around, but literally like the last 10 minutes of my Uber to the hotel, the skies opened up and it was like it was just like total downpour. I was like, I'm just gonna stay inside. I'm gonna like watch some bad TV. I'm gonna do a little knitting and I'm just gonna rest. And that's what I did. We stayed at a Kimpton hotel, which for those of you who are familiar, those are always like funky. So like my room had like red pleather headboard and like a leopard print robe. I totally wore the robe, by the way, but like, it was just interesting. Those hotels are so cool, but also like it's always unexpected. You never know exactly what you're walking into when you go to one of those hotels. I was in Washington, D.C. because I am serving on a foundation-wide task force on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And really what that means, you know, I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this, but what it means is like the ways in which the organization is thinking about diversity, so and defining what that means. So like race, gender, sexual orientation, political orientation, socioeconomic status. I mean, the list goes on. Diversity is it's a term that's bandied about, but often not well defined. So equity and inclusion, so making people feel like they are a part of the organization and its proceedings, and making sure that we're providing supports for people so that things are equitable. You know, we all come from different backgrounds, and so therefore we need different resources or different kinds of support to do our job well, right? Or to do our work as an organization. It's such a great, like, I'm so thankful to be a part of the task force because it's cross-foundation. So like I work kind of in a silo. Like I work with my team and I work with the education people. And this group is foundation-wide. So it's like people from accounting, people from the other programs, environment and home region, people at all levels. So like a lot of the senior leaders are a part of it. It was a great conversation. One of the things that we did, I won't like talk about the whole day, but one of our first activities was to list 5 identities that we possess. And then we had some nice conversations about those identities and times where those were an asset, times where those were a struggle, times that we felt shame around those. And then we had to go through this exercise where the facilitator made us take that stack of 5 and shed like the identities one by one, and we could only be left with one thing that was like our identity that we held. And it was really enlightening. It made me think a lot about kind of how I think about myself and how I define myself. I got to share a lot with one of my close colleagues, get to see one of my close colleagues who's like one of my best work friends, and see her and hug her and hear about her babies and share some tender moments with her. So that was really great. And it was just a good trip. So I did that. My partner Mike is in Florida right now for a wedding. I wish I could have gone to it, but we just can't, like, I can't, it's just too much. There's too much going on. So he's doing that. He's coming back this evening. The wedding was in West Palm. It's one of his great grad school friends who's getting married. So that's really exciting. Next week, so excited. I can't even take it. I'm going to the Plucky Knitter pop-up shop in Hastings, Michigan. So I talked a little bit about this last time, I think, or maybe on the first podcast, but I'm a huge Plucky fan. I have been welcomed by that community for years and years now. I've been going, I think, probably since like 2012 or 2013 to their annual events. And Sarah and Haley, who are the dyers and the owners of Plucky Knitter, they opened a storefront in Hastings, Michigan. It's just a small town outside of Grand Rapids, and it's not like a traditional storefront. It's really where they're kind of, they call it their like creative offices are. And they're inviting people in for the first time, and they're gonna have yarn to buy, which of course, excited for that. And she's really good about like making the events really fun. There's always stuff to do. There's always tons of yarn, and then they always premiere either new yarns, new bases, like new colors, and new patterns at these events. And they're doing all three. So it's gonna be bad, because do I really need more yarn? Do I really need to be traveling to Michigan to get more yarn? Probably not. But I'm gonna do it anyway, because I can't help myself. I can't help myself. And I always tell myself, it's not like it's drugs. It's yarn, right? This is like safe. This is okay. I'll be singing a different tune when I'm still living in an apartment 10 years from now, because I've spent all my house money on yarn. Problem. But anyway, I'm really excited about that. On that note, we're thinking about buying a house. We live in Fayetteville. We're living in an apartment. It's the first time we're together. My partner and I, and we're starting to consider buying a house. I think we're a ways off. I think what we've learned over the last couple of months is that what we want in a house is going to take some more time for us to save. So like, we've saved a little nest egg, but like we've got a lot more to do. And it's really hard. Like, one of the things that I would share is people are always telling you to do these things like, put money in your 401k, put money in your health savings account, save for an emergency, save for a house. Like, who has the money to do all these things? Like, who? I have bills. I had to put myself through school. Like, that bill will be here forever. Like, seriously. I have a car payment. Like, I don't know where people are getting all this money to save like 60% of their net income and put it in all these accounts. Like, are you just eating ramen noodles all the time? Like, I don't know. I mean, I am buying yarn, so maybe I shouldn't do that. But like, it's gonna take us a little while. But we're excited. It's been fun. And we've been checking out different neighborhoods in Fayetteville and kind of determining like where we wanna live. And we've been touring some homes, which is like making me like, I'm like literally like foaming at the mouth for some of these houses. And Mike's like, cool it, buddy. Like, we've got some time. Anyway. Okay. So TV update. I'm going to keep this really short because we're already at 30 minutes and I have a whole bunch of yarn stuff that I want to share. So I'm going to keep this one kind of brief and I'm going to like amend it on the fly. But TV updates. So RuPaul's Drag Race, since I saw you last, the Vixen is gone. I could not be more thrilled, because she was so negative. I get like coming from a tough background or having to, you know, like fight your way through something. But boy, was she negative. She was just like a dark cloud on the whole season. And when she was gone, I was like, see you later, lady. Pack your bags, get out of here. I was so excited for the Eureka Cameron Michaels like double save. That's a common thing in RuPaul's Drag Race, that like, you know, two beloved queens have to lip sync for their life, and one of them's probably gonna go home, and then they just like lip sync the crap out of the song, and it looks like one of them's gonna go home, but then RuPaul's like, you both get to stay, and everybody cries, or maybe I just cry, but everybody's applauding and so excited. So yeah, that's going on. RuPaul, loving it. Getting down to the end, still kind of like on the fence a little bit about who I want to win, but I'm watching that. So The Voice, I kind of like fizzled out on that one. I'm not watching Idol. I can't with Idol, so that's off my list. Gone. But I was really sad that Kyla Jade didn't win The Voice. I feel like she should have, and I feel like everybody went with like the sweet, cute 14-year-old like prodigy, like shocker. Kyla Jade, my theory on this is she plateaued too soon. So she had this beautiful, she had two actually exceptional performances. The first was This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. Favorite song. Oh, amazing. And then she did a version of Let It Be. And I'm not a huge Beatles fan. It's like one of these things where I'm like in the super minority. There's actually 3 things that I'll share about that. One is I don't really like the Beatles. 2 is I really don't like Bob Dylan. I know, made a lot of enemies just by saying that. And 3rd is I don't really like Star Wars. I don't. I just find it boring. And I don't think Bob Dylan can really sing. He's a great writer, but voice? No, don't like it. But anyway, her version of Let It Be was everything. I love like music that takes you to church, that you just feel like it through your body, and you make like those like faces while you're watching it where you're like, so good, like, and you just get chills. Like she's like that kind of a singer. And the Let It Be, she was like in this beautiful gown, and she had like a backup like gospel choir, and they were like stomping one foot to like kind of keep the beat instead of clapping. It was so good. She should have won. I'm gonna buy her record. She needs to put an album out. I'm gonna buy it. So there's that. And then Dancing with the Stars, Tanya Harding, love her, and I feel like she did a really great job. I mean, I knew she wasn't gonna win. I knew that Adam Rippon was gonna win, and you know, it's fine. And like I said before, I have this like conflicting feeling about Adam Rippon. You know, he could stand to like not win some stuff for a while, and that might like help with the ego issue. But you know, he did a great job. He won. I'm sure he'll ride that wave for like another 6 weeks of like press appearances and crazy outfits. But I was just excited that Tanya like made it all the way to the end. And that she like really, like she was good. Like she really was a good dancer. Yeah, so it was fun. So that's my TV stuff. The one other thing that I wanted to mention, if you've made it to minute 35 or almost minute 35, some people have said, why aren't you talking about the Housewives? I am a huge Housewives fan. I love anything on Bravo, really. Gay. But that's gonna need its own episode. Like I'll have to have a whole podcast like dedicated to the Real Housewives, and like a lot of you will probably tune out for that one, but that's okay. But I wanted to mention that I do have 3 favorite, like, so if you forced me to pick out of all the franchises, that's what they call them, like housewife franchises, like it's some sort of like weird business. I would pick, so my top 3 are, in no particular order, Beverly Hills, Orange County, and Atlanta. Those are the three that I love. Those are the three that I always watch. Orange County, just because it's like California, but it's like a little, I don't know. It's not as classy as Beverly Hills. And I kind of love Vicky, even though she's just like real crazy. Like she's like one of my favorites. And Tamara, Vicky and Tamara. I'm like here for that like whole roller coaster. And then Beverly Hills, I just love that one. I think it's one of the first ones that I watched. I'm not really loving some of the new cast members of that one, if I'm being honest. Actually, I should revise that. So I love Erica Jane. She's like my favorite. As like any good gay man would love Erica Jane. I don't like Dorit. I want her gone. She's like she should have been a 1-season housewife to me. Gone. Weird accent, not interesting, time to go. And then Teddy Mellencamp. Sleeping, so boring. And then Atlanta, I love Nene. I'm so glad she's back. I've always liked Sheree too. Like she was like they call her the bone collector because she's always got all the good gossip. So I'm glad she's back. And Kim Zolciak, like the Kim Zolciak like revival, bringing her in at random times. It's really good. So I like those three: Orange County, Beverly Hills, Atlanta. I also like New York and New Jersey, but the thing is I don't really care for a lot of the characters on New York as people. They're just kind of like real nasty on New York. New Jersey, I liked for a long time, but stopped watching once like Caroline was gone and Jacqueline was gone. You know, like a lot of the original ones left and then they brought these new people on and I stopped watching. But anyway, that was like more than I wanted to talk about Housewives, but huge fan. Huge, 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 huge. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink of coffee and then I'm gonna get into last couple segments. These are also great times for you guys to like pause, get a drink, you know, check on your knitting, make sure you didn't make any mistakes while you're watching. Awesome. Okay, so I wanted to share, kind of switching gears a little bit here. I've been thinking a lot about like what are my lessons and reflections on life. At 35, I guess 35 is kind of a milestone. I mean, it's not 40. It is a moment where I'm kind of like, whoa, like, oh my God, I'm getting old. Like, and you know, am I where I want to be in my life? And you know, I have lived some life, so I feel like I do have a little bit of wisdom to offer based upon my 35 years. And I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. So, number one, secrets keep you sick. And slash, wear your battle scars proudly. What I mean by that is we become so consumed with what people think about us that we make ourselves sick by keeping it in. So if you're struggling, if you're hurting, one of the things in our society that is kind of a reflex, or at least in my experience, is I don't want anybody to know about this. I don't want anybody to know that I'm hurting. I don't want anybody to know that I'm worried. I don't want anybody to know that I'm dealing with some family stuff right now and I'm really struggling. I just want to try to keep this veneer of I've got it all together. And similarly, if you've been through some stuff in your life, you might not want to share that with people. And that's okay. Like, you do you, you know, whatever you want to do, you do. But in my experience, it's better just to put it out there. The people who fall away when you do that, you never needed in the beginning. Those aren't really the people that you want in your corner. The people who stay with you through that and stay with you through all kinds of stuff are the people that you really want in your life. like for me, one of the biggest moments, and something that I will share now that might shock some people, is I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been in sobriety now for almost 11 years. I got sober on July 14th, 2007. Crazy. That seems like a really long time ago. And it's one of those things that I'm always like, do I share this? Do I not? I mean, obviously it's not like the first thing like, hi, I'm Drew. By the way, like, I don't drink, you know. People kind of figure it out. I don't usually explicitly tell people, although now I'm sharing it with the world. But I had some shame around that for a long time. The short story is, I didn't drink for a long time because my parents were both alcoholics. My mom died from alcoholism. I got to college, decided to try some stuff, like do college things, go to parties, and was fine for a while. I got into my first job, which was as a classroom teacher, and I was really struggling. I had some bad relationship stuff going on. I was young. I was like 24, you know, I just didn't know anything. And I almost lost everything. Like, I almost lost my job. I was, you know, engaging in some dangerous behaviors, and I was just like, I gotta stop, you know? And I started going to meetings, and I got sober, and I stopped drinking, and it's like the best thing that I've ever done for myself. And going through that, you know, and just through going through that process, going through recovery, being in recovery, not going through recovery because you're always in recovery, but it's just opened my mind to being open and present for people, and also just like laying it all out there, like laying out all my stuff, you know. It's like, this is a part of me. I'm not going to keep it in, because if you keep it in, you're just keeping yourself sick. So letting it out. So that's number one, life lesson. Number two, stick with the winners. I actually learned that in AA. But what that really means is, you know, look around you, see who's successful, see who's got what you want, and be with them. Like, be friends with them. Don't be friends with a bunch of people who like are not at the level that you're at. That sounds kind of like arrogant, but you really want to be with people who are succeeding, because there's something right about what they're doing. So stick with the winners. Number three, you can't force somebody to love you. You know, and you can't force people to change. Another way to say that is, you can't force people to change. You can't force people to be a way that you want them to be. So if you're in a relationship and you're really having to work hard, think about that. Like, maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe you should be somewhere else. Maybe you should not be with that person. Just a thought. I learned that the hard way a long time ago. And there's a lot to be said when things are easy, you know, like when love is easy. It's not to say that you wouldn't have hard times or like times of conflict, but you know, you don't want to be in a constant state of just like digging your claws into somebody, you know, because you don't want them to go. So that's a lesson. Number four is kind of my personal mantra, which is gentle with self, gentle with others. I can't take credit for that phrase. A certain AA person that I met, that was her mantra. A particularly beautiful, wonderful lady, by the way. But and what that means is, like, be kind to yourself and cut yourself some freaking slack every once in a while. I feel like I gotta tell people that now more now than ever, because everybody's so goddamn hard on themselves, like, all the time. And myself included. So with, you know, gentle with others, and then, or gentle with self and then gentle with others. The gentle with others part, you never know what people are going through. So cut them some slack too. Like, you know? Like maybe, you know, your friends are being particularly crazy, or maybe your boss is being crazy, or maybe your coworkers are being crazy, or you know, just like, you never know, you can never see like 100% of what somebody's going through. And so like, we all owe it to one another to just like be compassionate and like, you know, be gentle with people, be careful with them, be thoughtful, think before you speak, you know, all of these things. And then the final one, the final lesson, or just advice, run your own race. And to me, what that means is, don't worry so much about what other people have. Don't worry so much about, you know, my coworker's getting promoted, so I've got to get promoted, or my friends have this great big house, so I've got to have this great big house, or my friends are all getting married and having kids, so I've got to do all of that. No, just focus on you. Focus on the life you're living. Focus on what your goals are. Focus on what makes you happy. Do what you want to do, and don't be so worried about everybody else. I have to remind myself of these things all the time. I think that's why they're the 5. It's a constant practice. I have good days and bad days. I have days where I'm totally wrapped up in like my head. It's a Drew thing. But yeah, I just wanted to share some reflections on life at 35. So that's what that was. This has been like a long and maybe boring 45 minutes. But now on to what you probably are here for. Minute 46. I feel like this podcast is gonna be over an hour, so sorry. I've had a lot to talk about. Knitting, so all the knitting stuff. So for 35 years of living, I've decided that over the next several podcasts, I actually think it'll be over the next 5 podcasts, so that will get us to episode 7, if I'm doing my math right. I'm going to share 35, I don't know where I'm going to find them, skeins of yarn that I absolutely love, and talk about them. So on each podcast, I'll share 7. I feel like that's probably a little ambitious given the fact that I'm like basically out of time right now, but hang with me. So let's get into it right now. Here we go. I've got a little basket filled with yarn treats, and I'm gonna share them with you. Okay, I actually have like my little basket. Isn't this cute? I got this at Target like 2 years ago. They had these cute little knitted baskets. Anyway, skein number 1, Woolen Boon. Love them. This is their fingering base. This colorway is called Purple Drink. It is glorious. Look at that. Oh, I can't even take it. I love purple. It's funny because I actually don't like knit it a lot, but I have a lot of purple yarn because I just think it's really pretty. So Purple Drink, Woolen Boon, amazing. Okay, that was a fingering weight skein. Second, this is Zombie Honeymoon from Miss Babs. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. This is a skein of Yowza, which is Yowza, what a skein, because it's huge. It has 560 yards. For non-knitters, like this is enough to like knit a shawl or a scarf. I got this, I think, at Maryland Sheep and Wool a couple of years ago, and it's like one of those ones that I pull out and I like cuddle it and love it. I'm just like, oh, you're so pretty. But I haven't decided what I want to make with it yet. Okay, on a related point, coffee break. This is another Yowza skein from Miss Babs. This, again, you all know, or you will know, I love autumn tones. I think the story behind this skein of yarn is that it's supposed to represent a newspaper with coffee spilled on it. I don't know if that is the real story. Maybe I just made that up, but I'm loving it. Again, I don't know like what it wants to be yet, but I'm gonna make something fabulous out of this. Coffee break. Okay. Fourth, Vesper sock yarn, Happy Accident. Look how fun this is. Can you take it? I cannot take it. This has like gray and pink and yellow and blue. I should mention that the person who dyes this yarn is Julia Vesper. She is just the nicest. She's from Michigan. She's actually from Metro Detroit. She's very talented. This yarn is actually self-striping yarn, so it will, it's good for socks, as well as like arm warmers and hats. And it will, the colors will stripe by themselves. She's so talented. Her colors are amazing. She's always coming up with new combinations. I'm just like, I don't know how she does it, but she's just all the time, just new, all the time, all these different things. And she's just like so nice, like lovely person. So happy accident. Pretty happy to me, I would say. Okay, now like I'm gonna have to do like a plucky segment every time. So love it or hate it, it's just what it is. Skein number 5. This color is called Pumpkin Patch. It was from the Quintessential Plucky Palette Fall. It is on the Traveler Aran base, which has yak, merino, and silk. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like the way that this yarn is, silk makes the yarn have a particular shine. It's so beautiful. This yarn is actually discontinued. It's no longer made. It's Traveler Aran. There's still the Traveler base, but she's not doing it in the Aran weight anymore. And it's so beautiful. I don't know what I'm gonna make out of it. I've got a couple more. Probably some fabulous scarf or big shawl. But, oh, autumn colors. I can't take it. Beautiful. Okay, number 6. So this one is called, it's also from Plucky Knitter. It's called Deep Dish. There's a story behind this one. See all those great speckles? It's like, it's meant to represent when you get a pizza and it comes on that silver pan and you've eaten all the pizza and there's like those burn spots and grease spots and cheese spots. You can see that there's those colors of black and yellow and kind of like orange represented in the skein. Cassie Monksguard was actually the person who inspired the skein. Like Plucky said, send us pictures of different things that we could make into like a color for yarn. And Cassie like sent a picture of a deep dish, like an empty deep dish pizza pan, and Plucky made this color. This is on their Snug Fingering base, which is like one of their best bases in my opinion. So soft. It has cashmere, alpaca, and merino wool. And then finally, this one is special to me. So this is Plucky Knitter. The color is called, yeah, that's really good light for it. The color is called Technicolor Teal. The reason it's special is I love teal. Like, look around this room. I'm wearing a teal shirt. I have a teal basket in my hand. I have teal yarn here. I've got a teal chest. If you look up at the wall, you can't see it because it's in this section here, but there's like a lot of teal. I'm obsessed with teal. It's my favorite color. Really, any blue-green combination is like my favorite. This is their Primo Fingering. It's another one of my favorite bases. I use this a lot. I'm actually using it for my Stevie, which I'll update you guys on in just a second. It's MCN, so merino, cashmere, and nylon. So those are my 7 skeins. Now, guess what? You guys are gonna be so excited. Or maybe you're really bored and you're like, get on with it, Drew. But I have a bonus. Since it was my birthday yesterday, I'm just gonna give myself a little bit of slack. I've been wanting to make Vertices Unite by Stephen West, which requires 5 colors. It's a really cool shawl. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Vertices Unite. It's basically like a color blocked shawl where the different corners of like square or rhombus or triangle shapes kind of meet and come together, hence vertices if you're a math person. And I worked with Cassie the other night and I came up with this combination to make mine. Oh my God, isn't that beautiful? This is the Primo Fingering yarn, and I've got a navy blue, a gold, a brown, like a kind of jewel toned green, and then this color that is one of my favorites called oatmeal. It's beautiful, guys. Oh, I can't wait to make it. So anyway, bonus, more than 7. That was actually like 12 skeins of yarn. Sorry. Anyway, so that was my my 35 skeins. So each episode, so for the next couple episodes, I'll try to profile different dyers, different yarns that I'm obsessed with, colors that I like, things that are in my stash, etc. Okay, so just a couple more things as we wrap up. Whips. So last time I showed you like a naughty whip. I was like, oh, I'm so ashamed of this whip. I'm actually not ashamed. And I decided that I don't want to make it like just naughty whips. I kind of want to share like things that are active, like I'm actively working on, things that might be naughty whips because they've been on the needles for a long time. So I'm gonna end with that today. So I have 3 to share with you. So number 1, first of all, this bag, isn't this cute? It's like, I have this thing with like mustached guys or bearded guys, like the fabric. And in life, I have a beard, my partner has a beard. I don't know, it's a thing, it's an interest of mine. But anyway, so Terry Schmidt makes these bags, T. Schmidt on Instagram, Bags by Terry on Etsy. And this is one of his bags, and he's really talented. He's not making as many bags lately. But anyway, he's a great guy, and his bags are super cool. So I wanted to share this whip because it's one of my favorites. This is a scarf called Parkway, and it's a cabled scarf. Isn't this beautiful? Oh, why have I not finished this, guys? What is wrong with me? I'm like, I don't know. Story behind this, and it's got like a cool ribbed bottom. So again, the pattern is Parkway, and it's by Amy Miller. It's a really simple pattern too. Like, this looks really hard, but it's not. It's actually just 8 rows, 8-row repeat. And it's got like a braided cable and a horseshoe cable and then like a baby cable. I started this like, I think in 2013, or no, not 2013, that's too long ago. I think like 2014 with my friend Tracy. Sidebar, she has also not finished hers, and she's probably going to be on my next podcast. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about this. But the yarn is Plucky Knitter Primo Erin, which is now Primo Worsted. They changed the name of it. And this is one of my favorite colors of theirs. It's called Narragansett Gray. It's just beautiful, and this is really reflective. Like, it looks good on the video. I hope it holds up. But like, that's really what it looks like, and it's like so squishy. Oh, I gotta finish it. So yeah, that's my one whip. One of my whips. Number 2. Is one I just rediscovered on my trip to DC. So Stevie, which I'm working on right now, was too big to take with me. I mean, it's at that stage where it's got like a zillion stitches and you're in like a little airplane seat. So I needed something smaller. So I found my toffee colored fringe bag by Fringe Supply Company with my little Shelly can pins on it. And I discovered this one, which is called Garter Goodness. This is also a Stephen West pattern. I don't exclusively knit Stephen West, but like, I do knit a lot of his stuff. And it's a huge shawl. It'll end up being this really kind of strangely shaped shawl. You add these columns of yarn overs, so like these eyelets, you add continual, you add them kind of, I don't know how to say it, like you knit a few ridges of garter, and then it has you add another line of eyelets. So you can see I've got like one that started here, and then one that started here, and then I'm actually starting a new one way down here. This is a Plucky Knitter yarn. So this shawl will have 4 colors. It'll have this color, which is a speckly color. It's one of the small batch. I can't remember which number. It's really cool though. It's got like a slime green and like a hot purple. And it's gonna have this purple with it eventually, and this green. And then I don't have it with me, but it's up on the wall somewhere in a black. So it'll be these 4, the speckles, the purple, the green, and then the black. And it's gonna be gigantic. So really like enjoyed working on this when I was in DC, and it's one of those things where I'm gonna have to get back on it. So I'm gonna work on it. So that was number 2. I gotta reach, oh, okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, so the next one is a really big one. Big in size. So let me see if I can try to make it so you can see it. So this one is called the Half Log Cabin, and it is a blanket pattern. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to really show it. Hopefully you can see it. It's huge. And it's literally just like a big log cabin square. I'm going to try to start from like top down. And it is made out of plucky trusty. So trusty is the, I guess you'd call it like the workhorse yarn of plucky knitter. And so it's very affordable. It's like, I think it's like $19 a skein, which is really affordable for a hand-dyed yarn. It's 250 yards per skein, so that's a big, like a good yardage, and it's a worsted weight. So it's 100% wool. So it's not quite as soft. You know, you don't have cashmere in there, you don't have alpaca in there, but when you're knitting garter, and you need something for like utility purposes, like this is gonna be such a lovely little throw. It's going to be a blanket, you know, little blanket throw thing. And I'm doing it in like blues and grays and teals. And again, I'm taking it out and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is so pretty. Like, why am I not finishing this? Oh, you know, if I didn't have to work, I could have so much more time for knitting. But I have to work. So I don't have time for knitting all these things. I'm also, as you guys are finding out, like, the absolute worst with casting things on and then like not finishing them. But these 3 I want to finish. The pattern again for that one was Half Log Cabin. It is a pearl Soho pattern. So it's free pattern, and it's really easy to make. You know, the hardest part about that one is really it's just a lot of garter. So it's just like knit, 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 knit. And if you want to make it big, which of course when I make a blanket, I want to make it huge, you have to like do a lot of knitting. You have to make it big. You have to like knit, like I think mine's like, I'm going to plan on doing like 11 skeins of yarn total. That's kind of crazy. So those are my whips. Love them. I feel like I have pretty good taste in projects. What do you guys think? I don't know. Write me, let me know. So my last one that I wanted to share with you today is like an update on Stevie. So I'm moving right along with this. As you can see, I'm basically on the last color. So I don't know if it will fit in the frame, but I'm just going to do this. So as you can see, it's getting huge. The rows are so long. It's going to be glorious. So I have to finish this blue, which I'm on. I really feel like it's going to set it off, and the green really set it off too. Like before the green, I was like, oh, it's too much yellow and red and too much autumn. The green and the blue will really balance it out. And so I've got to finish the blue. And then when I'm done with the blue, I'm going to do like a little bit of a border out of this color, which is I'm using throughout, but I'm going to do just solid this color. And then I have to apply the fringe, which I've never done before, so I'm super pumped about it. It's just so delicious to like knit on. The rows are long though. Like, you know, you guys know, if you're a knitter, you know, it's like when you knit a project out of stockinette stitch, I like to knit more than I like to purl. So like when I get to those long purl rows, I'm just kind of like, oh, I have to like hunker down, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna take me like 30 minutes to get through this row, and I just like get through it. And then I have a knit row, and I'm like, yes. And then I get to another purl row, and I'm like, oh. But anyway, I'm super excited. It looks like I'll probably have that at least done without fringe for the Plucky Knitter retreat. So I'm excited to share it with you Plucky peeps if you're coming to the, I keep calling it the retreat, the pop-up shop. I'll be excited to show it off for you there. So I think that might be it for now. We're over an hour. I'm so sorry this was such a long podcast. I had a lot to share with you guys. I'm so appreciative of your ongoing support of me and of this podcast. It's really fun to do. I'm really having a great time, and I'm looking forward to doing more. And next week I'll be at Plucky Knitter, and I'm planning on doing a podcast from Plucky Knitter with my good friend Tracy Kane, one of my best friends. We go way back, so it'll be interesting to see like what stories we share. Hopefully we'll keep it like, I don't know, we both know where each other's bodies are buried, so like hopefully we'll keep it fun, keep it cute. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you for watching, and much love to all of you out there. Mwah! Love ya. Talk soon. Oh no, technical difficulty. So I have like this little like clicker remote that is allegedly supposed to stop the podcast. I'm gonna see if it will actually stop it now. Bye everybody.